You know, there actually used to be a big Ferris wheel here. It was one of the biggest in Asia, and now it's gone. What happened to it?
Angels will shoot arrows of hope and light at the loved ones of those they have been sent to protect. And a miracle will happen.
Hey everybody, Max here. Well, I promised you last time, and today we're gonna do it. We're gonna be going out and visiting the real-life locations from the first 2 seasons of Digimon Adventure. Before we continue, please give us a like, a comment, subscribe, and share around with everybody you know, because I'm actually really happy with this video, and I hope you will enjoy it too. Without further ado, just what was Digimon? Digimon Digital Monsters is an anime about 7 young kids whose summer vacation gets interrupted when they're transported into another world they call the digital world. It was goofy, it was fun, it had cats that turned into angels who then get into cat fights with fallen angels. Yeah, it was a pretty weird show. And of course we gotta mention the movie, which was originally 3 unrelated films that was just kind of Frankenstein together with nothing more than duct tape and late 90s pop music. And from that description, you will not be shocked to hear, was such a cinematic masterpiece, rivaling the greatest works of Martin Scorsese, that the hack frauds at Red Letter Media went and bought themselves 2 copies. Now, admittedly, when Digimon first started airing on Fox Kids back in the day, I skipped it entirely. I mean, come on, an anime about a bunch of monsters with a 2-syllable prefix? Geez, where have I heard this one before? But eventually, I gave the show a fair shot and realized I was missing out on something pretty special. One thing I really liked about Digimon is that unlike its 4 Kids butchered brethren, this fish and mayonnaise jelly donut looks delicious! The show never tried to hide the fact that it was set in Japan, starring a bunch of Japanese kids. Sure, some cultural references were removed or simplified for the sake of an unfamiliar American audience, but for the most part, they were being upfront about this being a Japanese show, and I thought that was pretty awesome. Of course, what was even more awesome for me was finding out that the city that these kids were from, Tokyo, was not only a real place, but the places that they visited and had adventures in were real too, and I could even go visit them myself. One more thing before we continue. You might be wondering why we're only covering the first 2 seasons of the show, and while I am aware that other seasons, most notably season 3, took place in and around Tokyo, the first 2 seasons of the show are what I watched and what I grew up with. They're the ones I feel the most attached to. So that's what we're going to do today. Maybe we'll do the locations from the later seasons another time, but for now, it's 1999. Ocarina of Time is the biggest game in the world. You finished reading the newest Animorphs. You're sick of hearing that stupid song from Titanic. And we're gonna go off on a real-life Digimon adventure. Our adventure begins here in Nerima Ward, a western part of Tokyo that's a stark contrast to the bustling metropolis that most people think of when they imagine Tokyo. It is a quiet district that's popular for families, and consequently is a popular setting for anime. In the case of Digimon, the kids actually lived here, specifically in Hikarigaoka, before moving to Odaiba after watching a dinosaur fight a giant parrot. Did I mention this show could get a little weird? They also put up a plaque by Hikarigaoka Station to show that Digimon started right here, cause let's face it, Japan knows how to attract tourists. While I was in Hikarigaoka, I decided to take a little walk, and I noticed that Hikarigaoka is actually one of the biggest parks I've been to in all of Japan, and might be cool to come back and visit in springtime for cherry blossom viewing, hint hint. Okay, quick heads up, next I'm going to complain about something from the English dub that's been bothering me forever, so as my way of apologizing, here's some cats. Look, you're cute. Good kitty. Okay, for some strange reason in the English dub, they decided to call this entire area Heightened View Terrace. But in season 2, they actually call Heightened View Terrace a lovely sounding place, which always really confused the heck out of me. I mean, it doesn't sound terrible, but I always thought it sounded more like an attraction at Disney World. Well, then I started studying Japanese, and as it turns out, Hikarigaoka could loosely be translated to... So, yeah, I guess that makes sense now. Well, that was pretty interesting. Of course, now we actually have a bit of a problem. How do we get to Odaiba from Hikarigaoka? I mean, these 2 places are actually pretty far apart. I wonder. Yeah, I remember. Izzy, he actually told us. All right, Izzy, how do we get to Odaiba?
Now, the fastest route to Odaiba is to take the number 12 train to Nagano and transfer to the Marunouchi line, then transfer to the Ginza line and get off at Shinbashi.
Koshiro, I'm pretty sure you mispronounced like 4 different words there. But, in all fairness, it's actually a pretty good route, so alright, let's get going. I headed down to Hikarigaoka Station on the Toei line to catch the train just like Izzy suggested. I mean, it's only the subway, how tough can it be? Look at this thing! Just look at this frickin' thing! This frickin' map, was actually one of the biggest things that kept me from wanting to move to Tokyo for the longest time. I mean, it's a mess! Oh, and did I mention Tokyo's actually got 2 separate subways? You got the normal Tokyo Metro, and then you got the Toei line, which is what we're going to be taking right now. Oh, but these 2 lines also have separate tickets, so if you get off the Toei line and need to use the Tokyo Metro, you have to buy an entirely new ticket.
What were they thinking?
And this doesn't even cover things like the above-ground JR lines, which can actually take you out of Tokyo, the Tokyo monorail, train lines run by private companies, and we haven't even gotten to the bullet trains. Meaning, a complete map of all of Tokyo's train lines would look something like this.
Mr. Krabs, I am so confused.
To be fair, I am being a bit facetious here. The train lines are actually pretty logical and easy to follow, and every station has giant signs up everywhere telling you exactly where you need to go. Plus, if you got a smartphone, Google Maps will tell you exactly where to go down to what car and station exit you should take. The secret to living in Tokyo is learn the train routes. Once you know the trains, Tokyo's actually a pretty easy place to live, minus the monster attacks. So, I got on the Toei line at Hikarigaoka Station, and yes, we are taking more or less the same train that Tai & Company did in the show. So yeah, after all that big talk earlier about following the same route that Izzy gave the kids, we didn't do that. See, actually my phone gave me a better route, and we decided, okay, yeah, we'll just do that. Now, in all fairness to me, even on the show, they didn't follow the route that Izzy gave them. But, we're not doing that same thing either, because, they actually had hijinks and ended up riding Ikakumon across Tokyo Bay, and I actually do not have it in the budget to get an Ikakumon, so sorry about that. One of the ways we can actually get over to Odaiba is we can take the ferry. I'm not doing that today. No, we're going to do as The Simpsons suggested and take the monorail. It was a long trip, but we are finally here in Odaiba. This is actually one of my favorite places in Tokyo. Like, if I could afford it, I would actually go and live out here. Like, one of the things I really like about it is that you're in Tokyo, but at the same time, you're also kind of outside of it. Also, one of the other reasons I really like it out here, you got some of the absolute best views of the entire city, so let's go check it out. While we're out here in Odaiba, I'll be pointing out some of the more notable places from the show, a few other things that I personally think are pretty cool, and a surprise or two. This apartment complex right here is about where Tai and Kari would have lived. In the movie, they lived in a place that gave a good unobstructed view of Rainbow Bridge, so they'd be living right about here. Just in case I forgot to mention, Rainbow Bridge is the name of the giant suspension bridge connecting Odaiba to mainland Tokyo, and is frequently used in establishing shots of Tokyo. You can actually walk across the bridge to come over here. In fact, I've done it myself. Now, walking across the bridge, being suspended about 127 meters, or roughly 416 feet for you lazy Americans and your stupid imperial measurements, to be honest, it's a bit scary. Not that I felt like I was in any real danger of falling. No. It's just that the number of times I have seen this bridge get knocked over, including this very show.
Oh, great. We'll probably get blamed for this.
I mean, after seeing that, who wouldn't be a bit nervous? And right here we've got the Tokyo Big Sight. This is actually one of the big convention centers here in Tokyo. It holds a lot of events, most notably the Comic-Con, which I have not been to. Don't worry, I'm sure someday we'll go there, and yes, we will be making a video. What cosplay will I wear? I don't know yet. I haven't decided. Now, if you're actually familiar with the show, you might actually know this building better as where Myotismon brought the captured civilians when he was looking for the 8th child. Okay, well, now we're off to... If you know anything about Odaiba, we're going off to the one thing that I'm pretty sure everybody wants me to go show. I will admit I'm not really the biggest fan of this franchise, but I'm still gonna go take a look at it for all of you. Yeah, your eyes aren't deceiving you. This is a full-sized Gundam statue from the ever-popular mecha anime. Believe it or not, this isn't even the only one such statue in Asia, and some of them can even move, which I admit sounds pretty cool, even though, like I said, I'm not really a Gundam fan. While the statue is pretty cool, inside they also have an entire Gundam store. You want to see the store, don't you? It is actually pretty nice, offers a lot of Gundam models and other stuff for sale, which it's actually pretty cool and definitely worth a visit. Aqua City also has an entire store dedicated to Doraemon, one of my favorite anime, and I actually had a lot of stuff written and I wanted to talk about, but to be honest, I kind of feel like Doraemon is worth a video all to himself, so another time. Instead, let's cross over to the other side of Odaiba to visit Aqua City, just for one more Digi landmark. This right here is the Fuji TV station, which actually airs a lot of Japan's most popular TV shows. And it also happens to be where Matt and TK's dad work. The building also gets trashed in the final battle with Venom Myotismon, because we're having a monster fight right in the middle of Tokyo, so you gotta trash the landmarks. No, I'm not going to explain what you just watched. Pretty much this entire part of the store of Odaiba could pretty much be summed up as 90s Japan, the shopping mall, and, you know, I'm actually totally here for all that. Like, I'm trying the best I can to explain what this place is like, but you really gotta check it out for yourself, because this is a place where they basically just threw everything at the wall and said, yeah, everything goes here. Shooting galleries, VR roller coasters, and a retro arcade that's only one Ninja Turtles cabinet away from 90s Nirvana. And when you're sick of doing all that, they got a pretty cool little animal cafe that, in addition to having your standard cats and dogs that you would expect to see at any pet cafe in Japan, they also happen to have a few more rare and exotic types, such as capybaras, owls, meerkats, and a ball python, or as I call it, nope! So I've shown you a lot of cool things in Odaiba, but let me just ask you, what is the one thing that you figured you would never see in a video about Japan? Yeah, the frickin' Statue of Liberty is here too, cause why not at this point?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And by the way, here's some photos of the Statue of Liberty and Rainbow Bridge that I've taken in the past. If you think they look nice, thank you. I work really hard at photo editing. If you think they look terrible, I did want to show these pictures earlier in the video, but I held off because I really wanted to save the surprise of the frickin' Statue of Liberty. What? Next you're gonna tell me that they got a store that sells American superhero comics. Well, so I started writing this bit over a month before I filmed anything. I had just seen Super Eye Patch Wolf's excellent video on Final Fantasy VII, and that kind of gave me an inspiration for where I wanted to take this video. Let's answer the question, was Digimon some great definitive work of fiction on par with the likes of J.R.R. Tolkien or Jack Kirby?
That's a stupid question.
It was a silly cartoon willed into being by a toy company to advertise a line of action figures, and had an English dub with more tonal issues than Thor: Love and Thunder. And yet, there was something about it that spoke to me and still resonates with me. Digimon, along with the two N64 Zeldas and the second generation Pokemon games, was when I was starting to see that most of the things I enjoyed so much were from a real place, based on real places, places that I could even go see myself if I wanted someday. Now, am I saying Digimon is the reason I learned Japanese or came to Japan in the first place? I wouldn't go that far. But there were a lot of times, especially when I first started to learn the language, when I would just kind of toss on an episode of Digimon and I would just kind of think to myself, maybe someday the adventure doesn't have to be confined to a screen. Maybe someday the adventure can become real. Let's go have some more adventures. You know, when I take these off, I can't help but notice the animation looks a little bit cheap.